Curse words and sarcasm were used in the making of this video. Hello, Jamie back for Potty Mouth Crafters Society and Salty Card Creations. So to start this one, I already colored my images on the live with Kate the other week. So if you missed that, it is at the end of the first live ever on this channel. And so I did a reverse stamp on the dough to get her going in the proper direction for my card work. And then I pulled out just some scene building dies. So the grass there is from Trinity Stamps. The mountains are from Lawn Fawn. And that pattern paper is from Close to My Heart. It's a super old paper pad. It's literally text weight pattern paper. Yeah. Hence why I needed that darker or that green behind it to kind of give it some, you know, strength, I guess. I guess I really wouldn't have needed the strength there, but I like the color variation, and that added layer of green kind of gives you the illusion that there's maybe a grassy hillside in the back. I did decide to do this one at 5x7 because I wanted the movement to be enough, and my images were, you know, they weren't huge, but to get that movement to make it look like he was running across the meadow to the girl is kind of what I was going for. So I wanted it to be a longer card. I guess I could have done Slimline, would have probably worked as well. But anyways, I came in with my cloudy stencil and some Distress Oxide in Lost Shadow for some very subtle clouds, and then I spritzed that with my Winsor & Newton watercolor iridescent medium mixed in a spray bottle with water. It takes literally like 3 or 4 drops of that iridescent medium in a full little 2 ounce spray bottle, and you get gorgeous shimmer and shine. Did it need to be shimmer and shiny? No, probably not, but I added it anyways. I did bring in some oxides to kind of color in my mountains and of course the grass, just to kind of give them some variation. I want to say I used Scorched Timber and forest moss for my green there. And then to line this up, I just decided to add add glue to the top of my grass panel there, and then set it on the mountains so I could get the mountains kind of where I wanted them to line up. And then I'm just going to add a very thin layer of glue on to that pattern paper. Yeah, can't add a whole lot of glue to pattern paper. I probably should have tape rendered it, but I, you know, did it the other way. So for my images, I ran them through the Brother Scan and Cut, and to get the second image on the deer that's going to line up on the buck, I removed my stamped colored images and just put a plain piece of paper in there. It was heavy, accent, opaque, 120 pound, I do believe. And then I just run it again, and it'll cut the exact same shape that it cut the time before, so then you can get a, you know, it's like die cutting, but not with dies, right? So you get an image, a cut image that's going to line up exactly to your other cut image. I hope that makes sense. So for my pull tab there, I just kind of cut a strip and left. I didn't cut it all the way because I knew that I needed a stopper on the end. So I just kind of hand cut my stopper out. And then I'm going to start, and I should have probably waited at this point, okay? I was, you know, jumping the gun. I was thinking one magnet on the inside was going to be enough, and that it would, you know, go across like I wanted it to. Sometimes it doesn't work how I think it's supposed to work, but, you know, that's all right, because he kind of was like doing flips and twists and turns, and I realized that he probably was going to need a second anchor point. I hope that makes sense. I don't know. Anyway, so I knew that he was probably going to need a second anchor point because he would get caught on the grass or the mountain or, you know, whatever. He was a randy boy, and he just couldn't keep his feet towards the ground, okay? So I ended up adding a second magnet in on this one. Now, I probably should have done it so that my magnet would adhere and not repel. So keep that in mind. I think I end up doing it on this one, but I had it way too far forward. So I end up just kind of peeling up where I had already put that backer piece on. It worked okay. This is where I said I would probably not, you know, put that backer piece on until I was sure that I was going to be happy with where it was. So the magnets that I used, I will link them down below. I picked them up on Amazon. They are a 1 millimeter thick by 10 millimeters wide. They work perfectly for this type of card. I did end up doubling up on the, I think I just added one more onto the back of the deer, just over the top of the white. I like to seal my magnets inside just because if a little kid gets a hold of them and swallows it, I always worry. I have, you know, this one's going to my brother and my nephew. I would worry about that, so that's why I would try to sneak it underneath that extra piece of, but just make sure that it's glued on there well. Hence why I use the double-sided score tape and liquid glue to make sure that it's kind of on there well. So before I get any further with this one, I need to cut out a slot. So I just brought in a pull tab cut piece. It's just from my stash. I couldn't even tell you which one it came from. It came from a set that has a pull tab in it. Yeah, I'm telling you, it was. And I also knew that I needed to do some sentiment stamping on this one before I got too far. So I kind of pulled in Henry's ABC or Henry's Build a Sentiment. I think I did the love one for most of my sentiments on this one. And then of course the Henry Jr.'s ABCs for my bigger lettering on this one, and just kind of built my sentiment from there. I love that the Whimsy stamp one had the sentiment on it, but it was really small and I needed it to be a lot bigger. And so that's why I ended up just hand stamping it, or kind of hand building it with my letter stamps and the sentiment stamps. I also decided to go on the bottom because there was a lot of open space in that meadow down below there, and I decided I needed it to get filled up. So, that's where I decided to put my sentiment instead of on the top like I had originally planned. So you are so dear to me, the proper use of dear there, because obviously she's a deer. Anyways, so once I have that part done, now I can work on getting my mechanism kind of finished up, I guess, building the back here with some foam tape. So I'm going to place the little stopper guide here. So this guides the pull tab, right? And holds it kind of in place. Not really. The foam tape is going to kind of guide it along the card base here. But ultimately, it's what's going to anchor that to my card and make it kind of stay where it's supposed to. I did end up trimming down those little tick marks on the end there, just because I just needed it to be wide enough that it wasn't going to go through the little stabilizer. That's the right word for it. I'm so proud of myself. Anyways, the stabilizer at the end. So just adding some foam strips on there, and I didn't have to double up foam tape. That's why I'm kind of in love with these new magnets that I found. I have some other ones. They're here somewhere. I have no clue where they are, but I think they were 2 to 3 millimeters. I think they were 3 millimeters thick. They're still tiny. They were little tiny. So probably a quarter of the size wide of the 10 millimeter ones, but they were thicker, so I would need more foam tape to get them to work in this kind of aspect. I hope that makes sense. But this way I could go with one layer of foam tape and it works beautifully. So I peeled all of those off. I didn't actually add glue to the back of them, which is surprising. That's usually my MO, but I was excited to try it, so I may have missed a step there. It happens all the time. Anyways, so once I have that done, I can cut my pull tab piece down. So I just kind of cut it, and I did end up making this one, so it's a little bit bigger than 5 by 7 because I wanted that pull tab piece to be grabbable, and I needed, you know, I needed all the things. So I'm bringing in that super thin paper, pattern paper that matches my, I don't know if it's like a Meadow or, I think I decided it was like a Meadow because of the dirt, but whatever. It kind of looks like a dirt, you know, like a closer up of a, I don't know, never mind. Anyways, I added that pattern paper on to my pull tab piece there, and then I'm going to add another sentiment because, you know, we wouldn't be Potty Mouth Crafters if we didn't get a little cheeky, right? Yeah. Okay, that's where I'm at. So I did have to like try to slide that back through the pull tab piece, which I should have maybe put that on before I adhered everything down. But, you know, hindsight is 2020. So once I had that done, I'm building my sentiment for my little pull tab strip. I decided to just go with the big ones because obviously I wasn't going to find the little letters to spell that instead of that because, you know, I was totally going with what me and Miss Andy Joy say to each other when we say dead ass though. Yeah, so that was definitely where this one was inspired. So thank you, Andy Joy. She doesn't craft, but, you know, she gets me. Anyways, so I'm lining that one all up. You know, I had no rhyme or reason. I put it in the middle of my platform because I was like, well, I know it'll be far enough off the bottom that I don't have to worry about it. I just needed to hold everything down in place, stamp or ink it up with some VersaFine Onyx black ink, and then stamp it. Yep, dead ass though. See, yeah, I was kind of sad that my E stuck out, but it is what it is. That's what I get for not planning very well. Okay, yeah. So I was trying to decide if I wanted to add another sentiment onto the front or if I wanted to add a sentiment onto the inside. I did end up adding a sentiment onto the inside like 3 days later. I had to think about it for a while. So, you know, this was pretty much it, right? And then, oh, I decided I needed to kind of finish up that pull tab piece. So I cut a coordinating, I think this one's from maybe the Magic Picture Changer die from Lawn Fawn. It's a little bit wider pull tab piece is what I was looking for. I ended up cutting it down. I just kind of wanted it to, and maybe I would have left it bigger if I'd have left it hang out a little bit further from my card base. But I also want it to fit into an envelope at some point in time. So, you know, I was trying. That's all I got. So there is my completed pull tab. Once my husband tried it, you know, first he rolled his eyes at me and then he laughed. But it did not stay on the greatest, so I did end up adding a second magnet onto the back of the deer. Just one. I didn't add two, I just added one, and that just held him on there better. And so, yeah, there it is in all of its glory. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Have an amazing day. Stay safe. Bye!